600 million users on Telegram, 150 million users on Discord. Okay, so what happens? There are some channels in Telegram that are very, very brazen. One of the channels, and this is the slide I wanted to show you, calls itself the Big Pump. Okay? So it's not hiding the fact that it's a pump and dump scheme, but it either thinks that they're legal. I mean, these guys are stupid, and they're not stupid. I'll tell you why they're not stupid, because they're doing pretty well with these pump and dumps. Or it just thinks that they won't get caught because of the perceived anonymity. So many of these channels are completely brazen. Now some of them are not brazen at all. They kind of hide it a little bit. But what goes on in the brazen channels is, it says, in 2 days, we're going to pump the coin Bancor. That's the one I had, so just imagine Bancor's here. We're going to pump it at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, New York time. They'll also give the time in London and the time in South Korea, so just to help the people who are getting involved in this scheme. So what happens? Sometimes the price starts to rise at 12 o'clock, because a lot of people are buying. But sometimes it starts to rise beforehand, because what's happening? The organizers, the ones who are running this, the 2 or 3 people, or we don't know how many, let's call them the insiders, who are running this, are basically doing what the Wolf of Wall Street did. They're getting in before these guys are getting in, and we managed to get into every single one of those channels because we have great research assistants. One of our research assistants managed to get out of Iran. He doesn't tell us how, but he climbed over some mountains probably. So if he can get out of Iran, he can get into these websites. So we went into every single one of these channels. Okay? My feeling is, if criminals are using social media, artificial intelligence for crime, we can take a look. I mean, we're not the police, but we can take a look at what's going on. And that's what we did. And we found that during the January to July period in 2018, am I going too fast?
No.
Between the January and July period and June period.
What technology did you use?
To get in? First of all, we went for the obvious ones. We looked for all Telegram channels that called themselves within the name pump. They put out about 25% of the pumps. So once we went into those, sometimes they would talk about another channel that wasn't doing brazen pumps, and we would just go into them and then go into others. So kind of like a snowball effect. One channel leads to another. I mean, the Wall Street Journal said there were about 100, 200 pumps during the January to June 2018 period. We found nearly 4,000 pump and dump schemes. So we found a lot of them. Now some of them are not the brazen ones, some of them are the other ones. And you can imagine that what would happen over time in this ecosystem. I think you guys are already thinking about it. They are taking advantage of 2 things. One, outside traders who trade on algorithms. Okay, let's call them honest speculators. Okay, they see movement in the volume of the stock. They believe that there's some information. Boom, they go in and buy it. Okay, so that's one group that gets fooled at the beginning by these insiders. The second group that gets fooled is some of the insiders themselves. I mean, who are not the insiders. Indeed, we have all the text dialogue, and we came across a lot of things that said, hey, I lost money on this, what's going on? And we said, well, you got it too late, try better next time, okay? But over time, you would think that the profitability of the stuff would go down, because the outside traders are going to adjust their algorithm, which they probably did. The inside people who are losing money are probably, unless they're nuts, they're going to stop playing this game. And you would think it would be harder to do this. And that's what we actually find, is that the profitability of this stuff goes down over time during the 6-month period. And actually, interest in Google Trends, which is a wonderful tool, by the way, interest in cryptocurrency pump and dump schemes kind of peaks during the period that we have the 6-month period, and then it basically goes away. Now, it's not that the regulators did nothing. The CFTC issued a warning to consumers, beware pump and dump schemes. And they also said, we are putting a bounty on this. Anyone who gives us information leading to the arrest of someone who's doing this, we'll give them lots of money. They don't even answer their emails. They're not a big regulatory agency, so I don't think they did anything except for that. But maybe that helped. Okay, so then you have to ask yourselves, first of all, Obviously, this is not ethical, okay? This is certainly not ethical to do it. Is it criminal? They would say, well, these things are not securities, and we're just providing information. You know, nobody has to do this. We're just providing information about them, and you know, you can go in. You don't have to go in. And so the questions are, you know, of course, the question is, you know, the question is all these questions: legal? Is it ethical? You know, they're using the new technologies. What's interesting, though, is it's not so hard to figure out what's going on, because it turns out it's not hundreds of channels running these pumps. There's just a few channels running these pumps. They're not pumping hundreds of the coins. They're pumping just a few coins over and over. Okay? And you know, the pump has to take place somewhere at an exchange, like what's the Italian stock exchange called?
The Borsa Italiana.
Okay, Borsa Italiana. So
It's actually run by the British Stock Exchange. They bought it.
okay.
So
Anyway,
it's not Italian anymore.
these borsot, these are run by people who don't live in Italy, don't live in the U.S., don't live in countries with let's say, modern legal systems, okay? And that's where these pump and dumps take place, okay? So it's, now you can say, if you're a regulator, you can say, well, listen, okay, you gave me this information, it is helpful. I now know who to go after, and maybe I can do something about it. But you might say, well, you're not doing so well anyway, so let's just not get into a mess, because we don't want to over-regulate this space. But I'll tell you one more thing, and then I'll stop, because I don't want to talk too long, and I'll take some questions. It turns out that the ones who are running the brazen pump and dump schemes, they're more organized than the other ones. And they actually charge people to be members of their premium group. And they're doing much better. Their profitability, what is the profitability? We can measure the profitability, because we see what the price was before they came in, we see what the price is at the top, and we can figure out the percentage rise in price. Now, not everyone made money at that price, but it gives you a sense of what could have been done. And these brazen schemes do much better than the other schemes, and their profitability is not declining over time. So this is looking a little bit like, I would say, organized crime. Okay, so you're weeding out the, you know, the cryptocurrency pumps that are run by unprofessional people, and we also know that there's a lot of businesses now, I mean, using the dark web that really have sort of normal business models, except they're, you know, they're criminals, and there's something criminal. So the question is, what to do about this? And anyway, so this is I hope you found this to be an interesting ecosystem. I don't want to talk much longer, but if anyone has any questions, I'll be happy to take them.
What do you think it should be done?
What do I think should be done? I think after the finding that there are these few channels that are running it like a criminal organization, I would go after them. Because I wouldn't go after the unprofessional ones, because they're actually not doing that well. And people are probably abandoning them, and some of those channels even stop. But the ones that are, you know, the brazen ones, I would go after them. Because first of all, they're also flaunting it. They're not even pretending that they're on some sort of safe legal grounds here, or ambiguous legal grounds. They are calling this a pump and dump, and pump and dumps are against the law if these things are securities. And now the CFTC also says that's the case in commodities too. So, and the point is, they don't have to go after that much. Because what happened was that when they made this announcement in February, a lot of the pump and dumps stopped. The pump and dumps, especially from the non-professional ones. So our research kind of says, you don't have to do that much.
But was it the result of a scheme organized by an artificial intelligence, or was that the result of an association of persons decided that they wanted to realize such a scheme, a pump and dump?
Pump and dump, yes.
Pump and dump.
Well, we don't know, because nobody wants to talk to us about it. And as you can imagine, we got kicked out of the websites after a while because we weren't pumping and dumping. So
okay.
we are not in those sites anymore. So
you can imagine that even artificial intelligence could actually implement such a scheme.
oh, sure, no question about it. And maybe the sophisticated ones are indeed doing that. You know, they're picking the coins to pump in a very sophisticated manner. They're paying attention to how the trading algorithm, which is also artificial intelligence, reacts.
Yeah.
Because they seem to be, I was very surprised. I thought everyone's profits would go down.
Exactly.
But theirs didn't. So, and
that would really point to some sort of coordination.
Right, and it's not that hard because you know who to go after. I mean, you don't know the people, but this stuff is not anonymous. It's not completely anonymous. Okay, so I don't need to present it. I mean, is my presentation up here? If it is, I'll just show you one slide. If not, we'll skip it. I don't want to delay the session. But if it's here, I'll just show you this slide because it's a really cool slide. We have these wonderful research assistants from computer science. I'm an economist, but I work with a lot of computer scientists, and the best thing about working with them is you can assume that all the data are available. How did we used to do research in economics? We say, wow, we found a great data set. Let's think of a question to answer. Now you don't have to do that. You can say, what are the most important questions, and you can answer them.
Because if you want to criminalize, actually, you really need to show that they are a real person.
You can find that, though. This is not anonymous. I mean, it is possible to find out who the people are. Researchers at the University of California, San Diego showed it's possible. I'm saying it's not so easy.
Real people, not algorithms.
These are real people because we can see the kind of things that they write. They sort of develop their own slang. It changes from site to site. If it was just straight botting, I think we would see kind of similar type of text. But you see people complaining and then people answering them and arguing back and forth. It's kind of interesting.
Can you also discover the people that wrote the algorithm?
I think if you put a lot of effort into it, you can. But you have to put a lot of effort into it. So you're not going to try to catch up. Not going to try to catch everyone.
Like security agency.
Yeah, catch the big fish. Catch the ones who are really causing havoc. But we don't need to show the slide.